Hello, and happy Halloween from the crypt. I'm Gory G. Now everyone has their favorite traditions to do of watching scary movies during the month of October. I personally love watching the Halloween films. Isn't that right, Michael? But I also enjoy watching the animated Halloween specials. Here are my top 5 Halloween animated specials that I grew up watching and still love to this day. At number 5, we have Donald Duck in Trick or Treat. The cartoon begins with the song Trick or Treat, and then we meet Witch Hazel. On Halloween night, she's going for a joyride around a small town. She's voiced by June Foray, who is also known as Rocky the Flying Squirrel from the Rocky and Bullwinkle Show, as well as Nell Fenwick from Dudley Do-Right, and of course, famously, Granny from the Looney Tunes cartoons, as well as another Witch Hazel. Witch Hazel is delighted to see Huey, Dewey, and Louie dressed as a witch, a ghost, and a devil. They are out trick-or-treating, and Hazel watches them as they go up to their Uncle Donald's house in search of treats. Donald Duck is inside, relaxing, when he hears the doorbell ring. He then realizes it's his nephews, and decides to play a trick on them. So instead of giving them candy, he puts firecrackers in their treat bags, and then douses them with water. Witch Hazel feels really sorry for Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and she introduces herself to the boys, who are then excited to realize that she's a real witch.
I saw the whole thing, kids. Down, Pinky Pop, down, please. Thank you. Oh, yeah, a real witch. Oh, boy, even whiz. Just for that, I'll help thee get thy candy.
She tries to get Donald to get into the Halloween treat-giving spirit. Donald is unmoved, but he repeats the water trick on Hazel. Witch Hazel becomes very angry, and she gets the boys to help her make a potion to get Donald to cough up the goodies. The result is a potion that is loaded with Halloween magic.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, eye of needle, tongue of shoe, hand of clock that points at 2, bottle, tail of coat, whiskers from the billy goat. Repulsive.
Donald soon realizes the error of his ways and decides to open up the goodie cupboard and give the kids all the Halloween treats that he can. He overhears Witch Hazel bragging that he was a pushover. And of course, Donald doesn't like that very much. So, he slams the cupboard door shut, locks it, and swallows the key.
Kids, this pigeon's a pushover. Pushover? Oh,
Halloween hijinks and hilarity ensue as Witch Hazel uses the potion to try and get Donald to open up the cupboard. Now, I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. Definitely find this and watch it, because you'll definitely love it. It's great for kids of any age, including my age. At the number 4 spot, we have The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. It's a part of the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. I saw this in the early 80s whenever I was a kid as part of a Disney Halloween. Now, Disney could have easily watered this story down, but they decided not to. It's legitimately scary in some scenes, especially for younger audiences who weren't familiar with the story. Our story is narrated by the late great Bing Crosby, who's mostly known for White Christmas, his countless Christmas albums, but he does an exceptional job with Halloween Fair. Now, most of the narration is lifted directly from the original Washington Irving tale, which most people don't realize. Our story begins with a new schoolmaster named Ichabod Crane, also voiced by Bing Crosby, arrives in the small town of Sleepy Hollow. He quickly becomes the most popular bachelor in town, dining with women all around the little hamlet. But Ichabod only has eyes for Katrina Van Tassel, the daughter of the wealthiest farmer in the county. But this brings Ichabod in direct conflict with another suitor, Brom Bones. So they engage in various games to gain Katrina's affections. Then, on Halloween night, Ichabod attends the Van Tassel's annual Halloween party. There's plenty of food, music, and dancing. As the evening progresses, the guests are asked to tell scary Halloween stories. Now, Ichabod is a very superstitious and easily frightened person. Upon knowing this, Brom Bones decides to tell the tale of the Headless Horseman. He tells of how the horseman rides across the countryside on Halloween, looking to chop off someone's head to replace his own.
Ghosts are bad, but the one that's cursed is the Headless Horseman. He's the worst. That's why he's mad on Halloween night. But when he goes jogging across the land, holding a noggin in his hand, demons take one look and groan, and they hit the road for parts unknown.
Brom also mentions that the horseman has no power on the other side of the bridge that leads to Sleepy Hollow, and if his would-be victims can cross the bridge, they're home free. By the end of Brom's story, Ichabod is absolutely petrified. As he leaves the house at 2 a.m. to head back to his home, he's haunted by Brom's tale of the Headless Horseman. Every sound seems to be calling out his name. Now, I'm not going to spoil the rest of this because this is the very best part of this cartoon and it holds up even today. It's quite scary in places, funny in others. So, do yourself a favor and find this cartoon to watch it. You definitely will not be disappointed. You or your children. Or if you don't have children, just for yourself. And the number 3 spot is, of course, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
Dear Great Pumpkin, I'm looking forward to your arrival on Halloween night. I hope you will bring me lots of presents.
They're back. All the Little Peanuts characters in a happy Halloween special that's filled with delightful, heartwarming adventures from their wonderful cartoon world. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
George!
And here's Linus to tell you more about it.
On Halloween night, the Great Pumpkin rises out of his pumpkin patch and flies through the air with his bag of toys for all the children.
While Linus waits for the Great Pumpkin, ghosts and goblins, witches and owls make the scene, with Charlie Brown and his Peanuts playmates off on a haunting spree that's filled with surprises. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, in color.
It's Halloween, and all of the children are making costumes, getting ready for Halloween parties, and planning to go out trick-or-treating. But Linus is busy writing a letter to the Great Pumpkin. Linus believes that every Halloween, the Great Pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch and delivers toys to children. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? I think he's got some mixed up ideas there. His sister Lucy thinks he's insane and is embarrassed by him. Charlie Brown doesn't have any use for the Great Pumpkin. And even Sally, who has always had a crush on Linus, doesn't believe him either. Now, during the cartoon, there's a little bit of a break in the action, and we find Snoopy dressed up as a World War I flying ace, and imagines that he is behind enemy lines as he makes his way to the Halloween party. So as the other kids go trick-or-treating, Charlie Brown has trouble making a ghost costume. A little trouble with the scissors, he says. And then we get, as we go along, the classic line, "I got a rock."
I got a quarter. I got a rock.
So Linus sits alone in the pumpkin patch, the most sincere pumpkin patch that he could find. And he awaits the arrival of the Great Pumpkin. Eventually he convinces Sally to join him. So, if you haven't seen the cartoon, then I urge that you watch this. It's been on TV as a staple for 50 years, over 50 years, and it's definitely worth a watch. You have to, if you love Halloween, you have to see It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. In the number 2 position is When Halloween Was Forever. Now, this is an episode of The Real Ghostbusters, the 80s cartoon. It's Halloween Eve, and the Ghostbusters are finding that catching the ghosts lately have becoming increasingly more difficult than usual. When they get back to the headquarters, they start discussing the fact that they've noticed that the readings have been increasing ever since some ancient ruins from 7th century Ireland have come into New York. Meanwhile, we watch 2 goblins as they break into the museum where the ancient ruins are being held. They chant the word Samhain, and one of them draws infinity symbol on the front of the ruins. The symbols light up and cause the ruins to explode, revealing the ancient spirit Samhain, who has been trapped inside them. As Samhain takes off into the night, everywhere he goes, strange things begin to happen. A clock stops 1 minute before midnight and transforms into a ghoulish face. A stone gargoyle comes to life, and apples at a children's Halloween party turn into goblins. Samhain, now on top of a skyscraper, calls for all things not of this world to come to him. Fortunately, that also includes Slimer, who tries his best to resist being summoned by Samhain. Samhain explains to his little ones that they have much to do, if they ever want it to be Halloween that never ends. And from that moment on, they'll only know eternal night. When the Ghostbusters finally confront Samhain, he explains to them that all the creatures of the night are his, and he introduces himself.
Why are you bothering my little ones? All things of the night are mine, on this night more than any other. For I am Samhain. I am Halloween.
Now, I'm not going to spoil the ending of the cartoon, but suffice to say that the character was very popular, and in Season 3 of The Real Ghostbusters, he comes back. Definitely find this one and watch it on Halloween, whether it be this one or next Halloween. You'll definitely enjoy it. And so we reach the number 1 spot, and my absolute favorite Halloween special, Garfield's Halloween Adventure. Garfield, who is voiced by the great Lorenzo Music, he also voiced Peter Venkman in The Real Ghostbusters. Garfield wakes up and is excited to learn that it's Halloween. He informs Odie that this is the night when dogs help cats get candy. So they decide to go into the attic to find a costume. After trying on many outfits, they settle on pirate costumes.
Candy. Hello, Halloween. What a glorious day and a glorious night to go trick-or-treating.
So Garfield and Odie, after traveling up and down the streets and getting all kinds of candy and scares, Garfield notices more houses across the river. As they go along, they find a boat, and he decides to commandeer it in the name of Orangebeard the Pirate. However, Garfield's plan doesn't quite go as he expected. Odie loses the oars, and they start drifting down the river, not knowing where they're going to end up. Where they do end up is a small island, and there's one lone house. Garfield decides, well, let's see if the owners are home, and we might be able to get candy. Now, if you haven't seen this one, I'll have to say that it's definitely scarier than what you would expect from a Garfield cartoon, and is a lot of fun. So, do yourself a favor, and this is my number 1 pick, so you definitely have to check this one out. Garfield's Halloween Adventure. I'd like to add that this is the first Garfield animated special to feature a completely original story. It wasn't adapted from any of the comic strips. And also, something that elevates this cartoon is Lou Rawls. He sings 2 songs in this, the opening theme, which is a very good up-tempo number, and as well as the great Scaredy Cat number, told from the perspective of Garfield. Now, I have an honorable mention, because my first Halloween special wouldn't be complete without talking about this one. It's The Simpsons Halloween Special 5, with the best segment being, of course, the shinning.
You read my thoughts. You've got the shinning.
You mean shining.
Shh! You want to get sued?
Homer gets a job as a winter caretaker at a resort hotel high in the mountains owned by Mr. Burns. There's a maintenance man there, groundskeeper Willie, who discovers Bart shares his psychic gift of shinning, which comes in handy when Homer snaps under the pressure after finding that the hotel has no beer or television.
No TV and no beer make Homer something something.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do! What? Scaredy cat.
Well, there you have it, my very first Halloween special. I'm glad that you joined me, and I'll be back in November with even more. So, once again, happy Halloween. I hope it's scary and fun. And I wish you well from the crypt. I'm Gory G. Goodbye.